Hey Radical fans, welcome to another Radical Rundown. Today's topic is going to be building an arsenal when you don't know the pattern. Whether you're traveling or you're bowling at a tournament locally and you have to have a limited amount of balls you can take with you, the most important thing to bring is sanding pads. That'll change your arsenal in a minute, probably make you a little more receptive to the patterns that are out there. Depending on where you're going and what you're bowling on, you have to have all bases covered. And by all bases, I don't mean just the amount of hook, it's where the ball hooks. At Nationals, we know the back end's always hooked, and you have to play them pretty straight in the front. So let's start with a urethane ball. That's going to be the ball that keeps it in front of you, or for us, we have the Rattler NU. And the NU, the not urethane, is a bridge between urethane and resin. It's got a little more down lane motion than a urethane ball, but not as much change of direction as a resin ball. So you put a urethane ball or a not urethane, in case of the Rattler, in your arsenal. The second thing you're probably going to need to look at in order to, again, migrating towards staying straighter, is a low diff symmetrical ball. And again, the surface is up to you because you have the sanding pad, you can change that surface. But that low diff ball is going to allow you to keep the ball on line. It'll have a little more back end motion than your urethane ball did. So again, if the urethane ball is good for the first part of a game and you're starting to get carry down, and you need the ball to turn up a little bit, to tip a little more down lane, you go to a low diff symmetrical ball, and that'll be the next step up. And again, one step up from that would be a high diff symmetrical ball. Again, I'm trying to keep you in the same part of the lane. There's not a lot of variety if you're playing on a sports pattern where you can play every angle, every kind of shot. It doesn't happen that way. It's a subtle move and then a drastic move. There is no subtle migration to the middle of the lane and keep going. So if you're staying on top of the shot with urethane or a Rattler NU, and then they're not tipping enough down lane, you go to a resin ball with a low diff. If that's still not getting there, you go to a symmetrical resin ball with a higher diff. Now suddenly you got to make the big move. You got to jump inside. Now you need a ball with more shape down lane. Now we're getting into the asymmetricals. So with the asymmetricals, you have a couple of options. You have low diff, intermediate diff asymmetricals, which have a longer hook window, and you have high diff, intermediate asymmetricals that have a shorter window, a quicker response down lane. Okay, having one of each of those in your bag is probably important to have. Okay, adding one more ball, you might want to put a asymmetrical pearl ball in there, in case they break down and you're looking to get the ball to not slow down as quickly. That's your other option, plus your spare ball. But most importantly, it's going to have those pads with you so that you can adjust the surface of the ball. Again, there's not going to be a lot of different places to play on the lane. At Nationals, people played in later on and played out in the beginning. That's your only two choices. There is no, I'm going to tweak it a little bit and move 3 and 2s. Those days are gone on a lot of the sports shots. The days of the 3 and 2s and the 2 and 1 moves really don't exist that much anymore. So just remember, bring the balls, cover the bases. Think about hook windows. The symmetrical balls have a longer hook window. The asymmetrical balls have a shorter hook window. So look for the intermediate diffs. The higher the intermediate diffs have the shortest hook windows. The lower intermediate diffs have the longer hook windows. So let's talk a little bit about the player style and what you're up against. When you go to a place like the Nationals, you have to adjust accordingly, and you have to anticipate. It's like a chess game. I know what I'm going to use in the beginning, but what's my move? And one of the places that people get totally lost is they don't know where to go. What's the go-to from what I started with? If you threw urethane or a not urethane ball just outside the track, and then suddenly that's gone, what's your next move? And that's where surface come into play. If you're a speed dominant player, you're going to be migrating more towards more surface because you're not going to have trouble keeping the ball in front of you and keeping it on line. If you're a rev dominant player, your moves are going to be amplified. That change in the lane condition, how it broke down and how you're playing them, is going to be monumental change. So you're going to have to go from, I was going up the track or outside the track with urethane, to I'm jumping way inside with an asymmetrical ball and circling the lane. But the surface has to be changed before the tournament starts, only in practice. So your anticipation has to be there. You don't want to be caught twiddling your thumbs saying, I don't know what to do next, I had a good shot for 7 frames and now I'm lost. And we see that a lot. We hear that a lot from people that go to nationals and go to tournaments on sport conditions especially. You know, on a house shot's a different story. Your basic arsenal will cover you on that. But when you're going away to travel on sport patterns and you don't have an unlimited arsenal with you, you have to cover it with symmetricals and asymmetricals, and surface and more surface and less surface. This way you have all the options. And that's today's Radical Rundown. Subscribe to the channel, put some comments below. We'll see you next time.